Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
That helps me because I always forget what it sounds like, and then when you do that, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what it is. So welcome to the unnamed youth. No, okay, we never know how to introduce. We're still
here. We
really
are.
Bad at this. Yeah. We are now here currently sitting down, and we have a really fun podcast today. We have Colton, which some of you might know if you go to Sunday or if you're there. My ears are really itchy right now.
Do I need to scratch it for you?
I don't think you could reach.
Is that a short joke?
No, that's a table joke. We have a fun podcast today. We are revisiting the questions that you sent in for the Dating, Marriage, and Sexuality series. So don't exit out of this immediately. When you hear that, the title will have told you, so this isn't a surprise. But yeah, we just wanted to jump back in. There were so many questions that you had that we couldn't answer all of them. So we brought Colton on because he is the expert at marriage, dating, and sexuality.
I don't know about that.
Wasn't your undergrad?
What are you going to come up with?
Oh my
Finish
gosh.
this joke.
That was the joke.
That was it?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Do you know what I had to do in my undergrad? I had to take a human sexuality class.
So Gabby's
Oh, so
actually
Gabby's
the expert.
I'm the
yep,
expert,
she's the pro.
Actually.
We will
We're
make the
actually
jokes.
asking you all the questions.
Gabby will
Yeah.
answer everything.
I will offer all of the knowledge that my secular liberal arts education gave
Oh,
me.
this is going to be a really bad rabbit trail here.
But to get us started, I'm going to Google search best get to know Colton question and just ask you the first thing that comes up.
Colton.
Did you specifically put my name in there?
Yep.
Okay, so it's catered to
They're
me.
all like,
I think we should ask the same thing that we asked Keely.
oh, I don't even remember what question we asked Keely because that was so
Well,
long
and
ago.
it's on brand with what we were talking about beforehand, what you were talking about.
I don't even remember what I was talking
Oh,
about.
I do know this.
What's your favorite thing about being a millennial?
Ooh. My favorite thing about being a millennial is that we are the greatest generation of all generations to ever exist. Because we had NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. So,
Wow.
at the same time. I just came up with that. I have no idea.
That's such a weird reason.
No idea.
NSYNC and the
I
Backstreet
can't even
Boys.
say that I totally enjoy being a millennial. I don't know.
I think that's a really millennial thing though, isn't it?
Is to like not want to be
Your generation.
our generation.
Like I feel like every other generation's like, we're so excited that we're our generation. And millennials
Yeah.
are kind of like, we have some problems. We're in the most. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
That's
So
probably true.
I've already lied once since I've been here and acted like I really appreciated my generation, and I don't know that I can fully say that.
But the question is, what's
Oh,
your
wow.
favorite part of being?
oh, favorite
right?
part,
Which still
yeah.
applies, even
which
if you
also
hate.
I have no idea.
What's like the best thing about millennial culture that millennials have attributed to
I mean,
or contributed to?
we dove headfirst into social media. I don't
You're
know if
welcome,
that's my
world.
answer.
That's true.
Yeah.
We were the pioneers.
We were the pioneers. MySpace into Facebook, like we were the ones.
Yep. I still remember the first time friends got together and we're hanging out, and there's a girl I liked, and I wasn't invited, and I saw it.
Oh, on social media?
Yeah, it was like 17.
Yeah. See, you didn't need to know about that,
Nope.
but you did.
Yeah. I mean, now
because-
everyone, like all of you, that happens all the time, but
Yeah.
I just remember that moment. It was the first time I saw a social media post that I wasn't invited to.
It doesn't hurt any less now.
That's true. But I was shielded from all of the ones, I'm sure there were many before that
Yeah.
picture
Yep.
that I never knew about. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I doubt it. I bet you were invited.
This
to
is, but
everything,
that reminds me
Justin.
of what I love about being a millennial is actually that we did get to live in both worlds. Like anybody older than us doesn't really know what it's like to be a digital native in a way of like growing up with technology and knowing how to use it. But we also didn't have to grow up with everything at our fingertips. Like we were still bored. We still grew up a lot of times without a cell phone.
Yeah.
In ways like,
The problem is,
so I like being in that middle ground.
yeah,
That's true. I've never experienced boredom ever in my life.
No, I'm just like childhood, like, and maybe you're like, since you grew up, did you actually grow up on a farm? I just like,
I mean, basically, yeah.
okay. I imagine it like the pictures of like pioneer life or like a little house on a prairie. And I just imagine Jackie, like, I don't know, out with the cattle. Even though I know that's not how it is. But like, the world
hear
just
that.
felt different
yeah.
for millennials, it felt like it was still the older generation of like, just go do whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we had a season of our life where we were playing outside and no care in the world.
And there wasn't anything else to do.
Yeah, you could go anywhere in the neighborhood or even outside the neighborhood, and mom and dad, the way they'd get a hold of you is they just walk out on the back porch and yell your name as loud as they possibly could.
My dad's whistle.
If you didn't hear it, you were going to be in trouble. So you always had to like be on guard. Like, was that my mom?
Yep.
I need to run a mile and a half home just to see if that was mom.
But even like waiting for your parents to pick you up was probably a very different thing. Maybe when did you get a cell phone, Gabby? We've talked about this, but I forget.
When I got a flip phone when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, so the number of years that I like sat there waiting for my parents, I remember missing the bus once and walking all the way home. Like my mom found us at like 5 o'clock on a road because we were walking home because it took us it's like that kind of stuff that makes you a millennial.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Aren't you so glad that you're
walking uphill both ways?
No, it's better. It's walking home without a phone. That's the millennial version. Yeah.
Speaking of phones, sorry, you're actually gonna get us on topic. I'll let us do that.
Yeah, I was gonna get us on topic.
Get us on topic, Gabby.
Get us on topic.
Okay, we're gonna dive in with the first question. It's a fun one. It's a simple one. Why date when friends have your back? What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of a boyfriend or a girlfriend, especially when you're a teenager?
Oh, there's so many ways you could answer this question.
There's so many ways. Yeah.
I want to start with a way to answer this question, which is, from my experience, people who ask this question are people who can't get boyfriends or girlfriends. I know that's not true. I'm not trying to like. But
the
that's
shade has
my
been
experience
thrown.
is
Yeah,
like once
a little bit roasted. Whoever asked this question.
And maybe this is like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, or maybe some like 15, 16-year-olds who aren't interested in dating yet, which is amazing. Don't change that. So if that was you, I'm sorry. This is also when I personally felt this way in high school. It was because I can't get one. Like normally, right? Like a teenager, if you have somebody who you can date, you're foolishly running in. So I guess I wanted to start with thinking, like, is this question coming from, I just don't think it's the best idea to date? Or is it like, oh, I hate my friends because they're all dating's stupid. So that's just I don't have an answer for that.
No, that's a helpful framework.
Yeah.
So assuming the person just generally thinks dating might not be a good idea, why bother dating?
I mean, my gut honest answer is you don't have to. You don't have to. So if you have this feeling that dating isn't for you right now in a season where you might see a lot of your friends dating, like you don't have to. So this is not, I know it's a cultural norm to dive into relationships and be dating, but it's not a necessity right now. So that's my just gut honest answer is if this is a genuine person saying, I don't understand the reason for dating right now, maybe that's because you shouldn't have to date right now. I don't know how it sits on you guys, but
yeah, totally. I agree.
Yeah.
Within this question, I almost hear something that I'm going to give friendship advice to. And it's that if you are that person that's maybe upset with your friends that are all dating, have a conversation with your friends about that. Let them know. Like if you feel like you've lost friends to dating, be honest with your friends in that in a kind and gracious way. But don't let dating be the root of bitterness in your friendships. That's sad.
Yeah, we see that a lot. And then the follow-up questions are similar questions people ask were, should you really date in high school, and what do you think is the best age to start dating?
I think there's a question that should be asked following that question, and it is, why are you dating? So what's like, because I think that answers that question, should you really date in high school? What is the actual purpose of dating? And maybe we should unravel that a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about it, but that was so long ago that I forgot half of what we said about why you should dating. We talked we talked about some really bad motivations for dating.
Do you remember what some of those were?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing we kind of talked about was if the motivation for dating is to get yourself something, then it's probably a bad motivation, which I think pretty much every teenager is like, I choose to not hear that. Because that was my motivation. But that's what creates all of those really problematic moments where you're either way too invested or you take it way too hard when you don't get it. Is because you're just hoping for something and you want it to fulfill a need or to look good for other people. And
it's a self-satisfaction thing, right? Like a status or something like that.
You're not looking to learn how to care for another person in an exclusive relationship, which I think is when dating is its best. When you're learning like, oh, here's this person that I'm going to treat differently than everyone else. How do I do that well? Because it is tricky. Like I feel like some of the stuff that happens in high school with friends, that carries through. Like we're all married and we probably have those moments where we're like, oh, you have different friends than I do. Or I want to go do this thing with people, but I have a spouse that needs me or something. So you can learn that, which is one of the reasons to actually date in high school is to begin to learn those kind of things. But yeah. Sorry, that was a long rambling answer.
No, that was great.
Yeah.
Gabby, what do you think? I'm interviewing you guys now.
Yeah. Wow, that's so fun. Should you really date in high school, and what age do you think is the best age to start dating? I think we talked about this in the series, but the age where you are healthy and looking for the interest of other people first.
Yeah.
Which is a hard thing to discern in yourself. It takes a lot of introspection and probably the voice of a wise and caring mentor. So have conversations with those kinds of people in your life.
That's a good point right there.
That is one. Well, I wanted to make a clarifier, which was when we talk about dating, I think there's a type of dating that shouldn't ever happen in high school. And that's the marriage dating. Of the like, I don't mean like, oh, we're intending to get married, so we're trying to be wise. I'm talking about the dating relationships that look like marriages. I don't think those should ever happen in high school. Because when I think of when dating can be good in high school, it's when there's accountability, when there's other people, when you're not absorbed in each other's world, when you're still getting to live as a child, which you are. Every time I see it unhealthy, it's like, oh, there's those two people. They're the only people that exist in the world for each other. And everyone else can see it except for them.
Yeah.
And that's not even a marriage, right? Like if that's what your marriage
actually
No, I know. But like I'm saying if that's what your marriage looked like, that wouldn't be a healthy marriage either. So
that's super true.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's students without context of what marriage actually looks like, living in a dating situation that their perceived or their perception of what marriage looks like. It creates some messiness, accountability issues. I liked what you said a minute ago about what did you say? Having a mentor or somebody that you can base an understanding of a healthy relationship off of. And what does that look like practically? Like, is it your parents? Is it a student pastor? Is it a life leader? Are we looking for people to model healthy spiritual family relationships and dynamics before we start diving into those things ourselves? I thought that was a really good point.
Yeah. Who did you have or do you have as a mentor or model? Or did you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was a student, my small group leader, absolutely. And we would encourage all of you to look to the wisdom of your small group leaders. They are in your life for a reason. And yeah, I'm grateful for my parents. My parents modeled that really well. And some of you will also have parents who are modeling these kinds of things really well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to toot our own horns too much, but Justin and I are happy to be those people in your life too. If you have questions, we're happy to sit with you and think about these kinds of things too. Probably Colton too, if you know Colton.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise it's pretty much your parents, what you hear from friends, and then media that determines like what you think a relationship.
Media is such a dangerous place.
Yep, because it doesn't even matter it doesn't matter if you're talking like TV shows where there are these like curated relationships, or if it's some kind of influencer that's again a different kind of curated relationship that you're getting to see. They're probably not very healthy, and they're definitely not honest.
Yeah,
you're not getting to see a real relationship. So
totally.
Yeah. So sometimes we even have those role models in our lives, and they'll be speaking. So I'm speaking from experience. I was such a flighty junior high and high school student when it came to relationships. Like I wanted a relationship all the time. They were always short-lived, and I had people in my life that were good examples, but I hardly ever listened to them. And I can look back now, and I could see the eye rolls that they would have as I walked in with a new relationship, and my whole demeanor changed. And I'm looking back at that now, and I'm like, oh, I know why they were giving me such a hard time, because I was so flighty. Like I remember. So there was a season in the millennial life. I don't know if this is still a thing, but like popped collars, and you would even sometimes double or triple that. So you'd put on like multiple collared shirts and you'd pop them all. How ridiculous does this sound? I know that's why I'm like, I don't know if there's anything great. I remember getting into a very short-term relationship. This is like my freshman year in high school, maybe. This crush that I had from church, and her and I started dating, and she was a real preppy girl, and she was into like these guys that would pop their collars, and it was not me at all. Like I was not an uber preppy pop collared kid, but for like 2 months, man, every collar that I had was popped. They were 2 or 3 shirts on, pop collar, different color each collar. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I'm looking back at that. I'm like, oh, I had healthy mentors in my life that were trying to tell me how ridiculous I was being, and I didn't care. And now I look at that now as an adult. I'm like, oh man, I should have listened.
Which that's the danger and the benefit of dating in high school is. Yeah. The danger is that you will completely change who you are for these other people. The benefit is you begin to learn how to do that in a good way. Because I feel like that's what marriage is as well, is you get into a marriage relationship and there's like, you're going to change to be more like that person. You just will. And so how do you do that in a way that's not like giving up yourself or becoming someone you don't want to be, but learning to be like the other person? I think that takes a lot of time. Yeah. It's not popped collars. That's for
Man,
sure.
I just shared the pop collar story. I don't know that I've shared that in a really long time.
This room just brings out
there you go.
Yeah, real stories.
For a whole month or two in Colton's life, he was like the multicolored pop collar guy. Wow. Yeah.
Can you this Sunday?
No.
I didn't even get the question out.
Now every time you see me with a collared shirt,
like, come on,
just come on.
I always think of Dracula. That's what I think of with people with pop collared shirts. Gabby, we need another millennial on here so that you just feel. I
need someone who's Gen Z.
Oh, sorry, Gen Z. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
You look like you were half like left out and half cringing at us.
She was
cringing
at the same
what
moment.
I'm cringing at is how we're supposed to transition from this to the next question.
Wow,
what's the next question?
That is really difficult.
Oh, nope. You're weird.
Okay. Well, I guess I've done it for us.
Just do it.
So,
just go for it.
We're gonna bring it down. It's a serious question.
Yeah.
This person asked, "Can you love someone the same if you've had sex with another person?"
That's a heavy question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this again, like we always try to not dissect the questions, but wonder how you're asking or why you're asking a question is so different. So this could come from somebody who either has already had sex and regrets it and doesn't know what to do now, or who hasn't and is wondering, like, what would happen if I did? What's the real point behind it? But it could be coming from somebody who's dating somebody who's had sex and is wondering, can this person really love me because they've had sex before? So there's a lot of different ways that people could be coming maybe at this question. And it's it's hard because sorry, I'll let you.
No. Well, I think I'm going to try to use my words to give a shot at this answer. I'm assuming that we're talking to somebody who loves Jesus, and that's where I'm going to approach this. Because if we're talking about somebody who has entered into a relationship with Jesus, what we understand as believers in Christians is that Jesus died on the cross for the forgiveness of our sins, and with that we can release regret and shame and things that might be holding us back from like a next step in our life. And so there are 2 steps here. There's can you love somebody the same if you've had sex with another person. So there's past shame or regret or guilt or whatever that might be. And if this is a person wanting to move from that into this next thing, it's how do I love somebody after I've done something that's created guilt and shame, or what you said at the reverse of there's somebody else that I know who's done this, and can they ever come to a place where they love me or somebody else in a healthy way? And I think yes. I think yes, and because we have a Savior who is perfect, while we are imperfect, but has forgiven us for these things. And that allows us the security of releasing things from our past through repentance and understanding of what we've done, and surrendering that and moving forward. That would be my answer to that. But I do agree, it kind of depends on where this question is coming from and the context behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Well, and part of what I think of when I see this question is that the love they're talking about, I'm assuming, is an emotional connection. That's going to be my guess, because if the love you're talking about is a biblical servant love, or even just a committed marriage where you're caring for the other person, doing things for them, giving up your rights for theirs, of course you can do all of that if you've had sex with someone else. So I'm assuming they're coming at it from more of an almost emotional, could I be in love with someone the same?
Yeah.
And what I would want to say is, I think we talked about this in the series. There's nothing beyond redemption, but that doesn't change that there are still ramifications or effects for your actions. And it's hard to balance that line. It's hard to say, you don't want someone to think, oh no, if I've messed up, if I've done something I shouldn't, it's over. My world's done. I can't be with somebody anymore. But on the other hand, you don't want to sell short what sex does. I don't think I'd talked about this before. Have I talked about John Green and his cereal analogy?
No.
I remember
John
a post.
Green, the author? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Back when he was only an internet personality.
Okay.
He was still an author at the point, but he had a post where he said, can somebody still love? It was kind of like this question. And he said, if I eat Cheerios, does that change how much I like shredded wheat? No, I still enjoy shredded wheat. Why would that change how much I like it? And I just remember being you're really comparing sex with just eating a different kind of cereal, emotionally, physically, those are just not the same kind of things. So yeah, I think it's hard, because if you've had sex with somebody else, it creates complications, and it creates a connection to that person that isn't as simple as switching from a bowl of cereal to another. But there's definitely not anything beyond redemption. So
Yeah, and I think the piece of hope that I would offer too, and this is just, even if we remove sex from the equation in this question, what I hear in this question is even the brokenhearted teenager leaving their first relationship of will I ever be able to love someone the same again? Yeah. And time and Jesus really do bring a lot of healing in ways that when you're going through something, it seems impossible. It seems and especially when you're a teenager, you can experience these really huge emotions and a really wide range of emotions. And sometimes it feels impossible to envision a life for yourself outside of what those feelings are. But I just want to encourage you that there is a hope beyond whatever feelings or heartache or hurt or any kind of baggage that might come from a relationship during your teenage years. There's no reason to say, well, I guess I'll just throw my hands up and not try anymore, or not seek to live in a way that honors Jesus and how I want to follow him. There's always hope and redemption for those things. But again, and this is probably what I'm going to say for pretty much every question, ask for help. Bring a mentor in. Share with someone if there is something really big going on in your heart or in your life. Don't try and shoulder that alone.
Yep. Yeah. Should we keep going?
That's what I got.
Yeah. Do we want to address the sub-question within this question?
Oh, that's right. It's just so long that every time I try to read it, I stop.
It's one of the ones I had to zoom in on. Thanks, Justin.
I will summarize this question. We live in an age of hookup culture. Yep. It's everywhere. It's
Oh, yes.
if you are a senior, if you're about to be on a college campus, it will be everywhere on the college campus that you are at. Is it worth fighting against that?
Yeah, the end of the question, is it worth it to wait till marriage?
Yeah.
100% yes. I've never met a single person, right? Like we do premarital counseling. All three of us have counseled teenagers, us millennials a little longer than others. But we all have a lot of relationships with adults in our lives. Never met a person who is like, I am so thankful that I had sex before I was married, or that I had sex all these times. Like,
or I'm so angry that I didn't.
Yep. Never one single time have I met somebody who that happened to. Almost every single time the conversations are filled with shame and regret.
Yeah.
Because when the culture is hookup culture, what it normally means is you're finding somebody to feel good about yourself, or to feel good about life, or just to have fun for a small moment of time. And then it leaves its pain when the relationship ends or the hookup ends. And then you bring that into the next relationship with shame and guilt, and it just kind of builds on itself to where you have like accumulating shame and guilt as you go through relationships. So I think it's actually really tragic in premarital when you're sitting with people and you start talking about, okay, we're about to enter this marriage relationship. What's our past looked like? And yet, like, nobody wants to walk through that.
Right.
Which, yeah, sorry, that's a really like overwhelming way to talk about this. But the flip side is like, what's the, like, I think sometimes with hookup culture, the fear is that you can't have a good relationship or intimacy without having sex with people, which is also sad because that's like the majority of your marriage relationship has nothing to do with sex. Like whether your marriage relationship is good or not has so little to do with sex.
Yep.
But people don't see that as much when you're younger. So.
Yep.
And okay, can I speak really strongly and openly, specifically to the girls, quickly?
Go
Definitely.
for it.
I mean, I was on college, like kind of during the peak of when hookup culture is just like the norm. And what I saw in friends of mine, classmates, like peers of mine, over and over again, is that hookup culture largely benefits jerk guys who are jerks. Because what would happen is these girls that I knew, they would want to be in a relationship with this guy, and because hookup culture was the norm, they would sleep with some guy and they would sleep with him over and over and over again, hoping that it would lead to a relationship. But this guy who wasn't actually like interested in being in a relationship with them would get to have sex with them as much as he wanted and never had to commit, and could constantly just kind of string them along. So it was always heartbreaking to see that happen to my friends, and I don't want that to happen to any of you. So
why do we think hookup culture is a thing? Like why is it normalized?
Well, if you want to go way back.
yeah.
So the introduction of birth control is actually like, it's a pretty defining thing in history. Because the introduction of birth control is the separation of family from sex. And so suddenly sex becomes about pleasure and about specifically self-pleasure. And so why do you have sex with people? Because it feels good and it's a fun thing to do, and it happens to be with a person, so you can have fun with another person. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And it separates it from all of the emotions. And it's even weird when you watch secular TV shows, or you talk, like overhear secular people or talk to them, you hear it in their conversation and the way they act. Like when there's if somebody ends up pregnant, right? Or if they've been sleeping together for a long time, there are always those emotional connections that they somehow try to like pretend don't exist, or as if they shouldn't, or they're all surprised of like, oh, why am I so heartbroken after this hookup ends? Like, yeah.
We're all seeking for something, right?
Yep.
And regardless if we want to admit it or not, we're seeking for something emotional, right? Yep. Like we want connection. And so we chase after that connection. And what's so toxic about hookup culture is that we're seeking for connection in the wrong way. And we end up bouncing from connection to connection to connection. And we're going back and forth between heartbreak into self-pleasure, into heartbreak, into self-pleasure. And what we never find in that being our path to like longevity of whatever it is we're looking for is longevity in whatever we're looking for. We never find that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, even like maybe it's not a crass comparison, but if any of you have been in those situations with friends where you can't find a good friend, and so you're hopping around friend groups and you never have a friend that's just there that you know really well. If you've had that and then you've also experienced a friend who maybe you fight and things aren't perfect all the time, but you've just been friends with for a really long time, there's like a depth that you get to and a comfortableness that you get to that can't be replaced. So maybe that's a similarity, but yeah, I mean, another way, hookup culture could just be, I don't know. Yeah, what do you think?
Now I'm so curious what was about ready to come out of your mouth.
What's men wanting sex and women wanting stability, security? Like that's an overgeneralization because that's not how every guy and every girl is. Right. But you're right. Like there's the guys that are okay with that, and they're the ones who benefit really well from it. And
yeah, so we're emotionally abusing each other by using the other person for something that we want and we desire without thinking of what the other person actually needs, right?
Yeah. What were you going to say, Gabby? Sorry.
There are a lot of things I could say.
Say them all.
I'll start with no, I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is this is a story from my human sexuality class that I took. One of the things that we would always do like little discussion groups. And one day, one of the questions that we had to discuss was, what is more intimate, kissing someone or having sex with someone? I thought that there was a very obvious answer. The girls at my table could not for the life of them decide what was more intimate, kissing or having sex. And I just thought that was an incredibly sad fruit that hookup culture, that we've reaped from hookup culture, is that it's given us such a warped understanding of what intimacy is and how sex is designed to be an intimate thing and connect people. Sex should be and feel more intimate than kissing someone. But because hookup culture was so prevalent, that they couldn't make that distinction for themselves personally.
That's wild.
I thought that was really sad.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Well,
have we answered that question? I think we've answered that question.
It's worth it.
Hookup culture is bad.
Yeah.
It's not good for anyone.
Yep. Whoever you are, whether you're a guy or a girl, it's not for you. It's not good for you.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're one of those jerk guys that's hoping to get into hookup culture, stop.
Yeah.
Now.
Stop being a jerk.
Yeah.
But really, like if you're one of those guys, yeah, maybe it's a guy listening who like is excited for that college life. You're one of the people that's like these women are going to be sad about. Like you're going to be hurting people over and over again. So while you don't have to talk to them again, they're going to be crying to their friend, her. So don't be the bad guy.